everyone. This is David Ellis along with Amir Jahangiri and Andrew Botsis, and we're here with another show. And today we are going to be speaking about shit spiritual people say.
Yeah.
And so that's a big, broad topic. We're going to be going by the numbers. I'm going to be throwing some cliches out there, and I'm going to have you guys respond to it. So what we're going to do is adopt a different format. I am going to be the spiritual person that is going to say shit. You guys are going to answer me. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
So let's define, hold on. So let's define shit. There's the English shit, and then there's British shite, which are two different levels of shit and shite. So is it a shit or a shite question?
We are going to be examining the gamut of shitology. Okay.
So we are scatologists.
Correct. Right.
The whole spectrum of shit, from really runny to really hard.
Pretty much. And so my first statement to you guys right now as a spiritual person is that I'm working on myself. What does that mean? Right? Is it a reference to masturbation, spiritual masturbation? What is it? I throw the ball over to you guys.
I will pick this one up first, since I hear this all the time in my live show. I work on myself, and I ask them, what does that mean? What does that look like? And you discover it is hollow, shallow, and vapid. And that statement defines who they are, and what's inside them. Hollow, vapid, and by the statement of working himself, has a sense of narcissism to justify the spiritual conversation that is going on.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
It's a validating statement for the ego.
So I'm working on myself. What that translates to is I'm not working on myself. Go away.
Okay. There's another way to see it. I'm working on myself, but it actually means I'm not working on myself. And if you ask me if I'm working on myself, I will continue to lie to you and tell you all the things that I don't actually do, but pretend to do.
Okay. I have never been able to understand the statement, I'm working on myself. Okay, because it presumes that there is work to be done, which we all know, but it presumes that you're actually doing it.
Yes.
Or the way that you're doing it is having some modicum of success. It is usually said as a defense when you call a spiritual person out on their shit.
Mm-hmm.
So you say you're being a narcissist right now, or you're being, what you've just said is wrong. And it says, don't judge me, bro. I'm working on myself.
Right. So it's like when they do the triple finger snap. I'm working on myself is a verbal triple finger snap.
Mm-hmm.
So
all right.
I'm thinking, what would be the correct signs of working on oneself? There could be, for example, healing childhood trauma, noticing that you're codependent, understanding there are certain things within your psyche that are harmful. And it's a very difficult process.
Mm-hmm.
So how would we identify somebody who's really genuinely doing the job? They probably would describe the process to you. Oh, this is so difficult.
The passion behind their words will tell you if it's true or false.
Correct.
The wisdom behind what they've learned, the emotions that they recite when they're telling you about it. I'm working on my inner child. My God, has it been challenging? Not I just did inner child work, or I'm working on myself. End of statement.
Exactly right. That emotional content.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which will bring us to the second category, which is attached to this category. We usually give shit to light workers because light workers say a lot of stuff, which is like just empty stuff. But today I'm going to give shit to the shadow workers. What WTF is a shadow worker? Okay, because if I have a shadow, you can't work on it. Do you feel me?
Mm-hmm. I can take this question first because I'm in this industry where these light workers teach all about your shadow, and they only want you to work on your shadow. And by only working on your shadow, you only empower your shadow more and don't know how to work light. And there's an unnamed teacher who I will not name in this situation, who only teaches shadow work and has access to tens of thousands, and in fact, millions of people, many of them who are coming out of the Mormon church, who are falling for this working on shadow bullshit and only working on their shadow. And she has a shadow university. Yes, yes, not naming the names, but the whole process of working on your shadow has nothing to do with working on the light that's inside you. And it's a whole circular argument of looking at your darkness, thinking you could heal your darkness by logic.
That's just beautiful. By logic. That's so interesting, Andrew. You say this.
Why? I'm trying to understand the concept of a shadow worker. Now, as I said, if I have a shadow, it is for me to work on. An external person cannot help me work on my shadow.
But that's not a fundamental teaching in the shadow worker community. And it's not just the one teacher.
That's obvious.
No, they literally, they have groups of people who work on your shadow.
What?
Yeah, they interrogate it.
Oh, wow. I see. Right.
Like a depossession.
Okay,
right.
That's interesting. I mean,
yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, the whole concept of the shadow in psychology comes from Gustav Jung. Am I right, David?
Yep.
Right. So those aspects that are hidden deep down inside, but has taken a life of its own, as if, you know, shadow people. Ooh, the boogeyman inside of you. Let's exercise it out of you. But again,
that is a disempowering practice. It is. Because when it is that you have external people working on your shadow, it disempowers you as an individual to work on your own shadow. So the only thing an external person could do is highlight the shadow. Okay?
Right.
And by highlighting the shadow and then making you dependent on them to work on your shadow, what does that help you? How does that help you? It doesn't help you.
It helps you. It helps you the same way when you say, "I'm working on myself through the shadow." I'm working on my shadow. What does that mean? Nothing. And in fact, it's a negative conference and inference. But the people that buy into shadow work ultimately don't understand that what you look at looks back at you, and it creates the circular non-healing process of the dragon eating its own tail.
Right.
Amir, please let these people know what your tagline on Skype is.
Amir4459.
Yeah, and the tagline is Abyssus Abyssum Invocate.
Yes, exactly. So the abyss, the deep, calls forth the deep, the abyss. So you gaze into the abyss gazes also into you. Exactly what Andrew just mentioned. And thank you for reminding me, David. I hadn't thought about that for a while. But again, what is this shadow? Let's really shine light upon it, pun intended, right? So it would be unhealed and suppressed wounds or aspects of the personality that is too difficult to deal with. Mm-hmm. So as a defense mechanism, the human mind can compartmentalize different things, including completely suppressing parts of the memory. You wouldn't remember periods of your life that's traumatic, that happens with trauma. So then healing the shadow would be able to reconcile this trauma in a way that it doesn't then cause all the following links in the chain of harm. So I don't know what you think about this.
What you have said was beautiful, but that does not imply. That's not the view of the majority of the shadow teachers out there. And I have to take a moment if I want to put the cover over my face and announce things that are going to have a lightning bolt of shadows sent at me, because the teachings that they do are completely opposite of what you just said.
Which is
embrace it. Embrace it.
Embrace the shadow.
Yeah. Absolutely. Agreed.
Here's the thing that I have a lot of problems with a lot of spiritual people. We used to have a formula for spirituality. Everybody gets up and they do what they have to do. We now have a situation where we have a whole bunch of people saying, no, don't get up and do what you have to do. We'll take care of it for you. Okay? We'll take care of it for you. And I'm like, no, you're not taking care of shit. If somebody has a shadow that's inside of themselves, then it's because they created it. They have to uncreate it.
Because they have no fundamental basis in working on themselves or what that means. They have no built-in skill sets, no discipline, no commitment, no courage. They don't understand the basic foundations of what a daily practice is. And for them to actually have a daily practice would mean that they have to commit and find the internal courage, which isn't mystical, to go through the very beginning infant footsteps, from crawling to infant footsteps, to figure out that process. And the vast majority of them are too chicken, too lazy, uncommitted, uneducated, or worse, ignorant.
Mm-hmm.
And they allow ignorant to be a blissful state of being to them. And they allow teachings from the shadow, different shadow university people out there that say embrace the shadow without an understanding of what to do, how to do, and when do you stop embracing the shadow? When do you learn from it? Okay, and the shadow groups, they tell you to work on yourself through the shadow, but they don't teach the other sides. And I get this in my call-in show all the time, and I got to say, at what point do the pendulum swing to the other side and you let the shadow go? Shadow work, if for people like David and myself and for Amir, means that we know the inner parts of our dark side. We know what they are, and we're not just giving them dog cookies. We're understanding them at the fundamental impulses that they are.
There's
and
a
we're
fundamental
working.
difference between integration.
Yes.
There's a fundamental difference between integration and working with the shadow to whatever it is that they're doing.
Maybe
and that's the
way. Yeah.
Right. And that's the next thing the shadow university people try to teach is processing and integration. Those are their other two buzzwords. And unfortunately, because most people don't have a daily practice, are not disciplined, and not long-term committed, they're forever processing and forever integrating and never actually learning the message from the moment-to-moment experience where you're seeing the dragon eat its own tail and breaking the cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So if I may add something, I'd like to make an analogy. So dealing with the shadow, and again, let's keep with Jung's definition, suppressed stuff in the psyche.
Mm-hmm.
I like to think of it as removing a splinter that's become painful and infected. So how would you do this? Of course, digging into the flesh and actually pulling the foreign object out is going to be painful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So with this, then this is pain that you take for the ultimate healing. So during this process, you're feeling the pain intensely, with recognition, with acknowledgement, for one last time, seeing it for what it truly is, bringing it into the light, so to speak, mourning, feeling the pain, crying, and then healing. But it's once and for all. And that would be what Andrew just mentioned about the breaking that cycle, the Ouroboros, snake eating its own tail. Mm-hmm. So that's how you do it. You can't avoid the pain. You can't bypass the healing pains and the mourning and the grieving and so on. That must be part of the shadow work, so to speak.
Which will bring us. Go ahead.
Hold on. Healing is a process, not an event.
Yes.
And unfortunately, a lot of the marketeer teachers who their teachings are as shallow as their marketing and have no depth to them don't show that extended, committed process of allowing healing to be a process and not an event. Because the idea that you just brought up, Amir, of the sliver, let's up it a level. Most people's inner wounds are in a sliver. They're a boil on their buttocks, and they can't pop it themselves. Okay? They need help. And that help is, well, I got to go to a doctor or somebody that has teaching skills so that you can realize that the lancing of that boil is going to be more painful than you've had before.
Right.
And then once it's been lanced and drained, you got to learn how to sit on that donut seat. Okay? And understand it's going to take weeks to heal, and you can easily reinfect it and bring it right back if you don't do the next part of the work, which is process integration, stopping the process and integration once you've done it, and allowing yourself to grow through it.
And you know, this is the same process that would be used by a psychotherapist.
Yep.
Okay? And so I don't understand how people who are literally with soccer moms last week get into shadow work. I am a psychotherapist. That takes years of training to assist or guide somebody through that. You don't go to a weekend course and become a shadow worker, because the stuff that you're bringing up is detrimental to people. You wouldn't trust somebody who was a janitor one week, right, to come and give you like heart surgery. You wouldn't do that.
Exactly.
And that is what the equivalent is. So I honestly, I fear for people a lot of it, but it brings us to our next set of shit that spiritual people say. I am practicing self-love by being compassionate to myself, and therefore, whatever wrong things I have done, I forgive them. I forgive myself. I do a forgiveness ritual. That sounds very legible in theory. Notice that I said in theory, because what actually happens is that I want an excuse to forget the shit that I have done.
See, forgiveness means you have to target something you feel shame, blame, and guilt for, that you've obsessed about, that has depressed you, regressed you. Example, there was a kid in 10th grade I was really mean to, and I was a bully, and I want to get this bully out of me. I got to bring those memories up and say, I forgive myself for that as the child, to accept myself today.
Step, Andrew.
They would miss those steps, right?
So it's like, well, I forgive myself and that's it. This kind of process is not a process.
And that comes from the Christian pay for forgiveness.
Oh, shit. You know what?
Yeah.
You know, I didn't actually make that link, but now that I've made that link, it's a little bit more disgusting.
Yeah.
Now, Amir, imagine if all of the reigning leaders of Iran suddenly said, you know what? After everything that we've done, we forgive ourselves and it's done. You have to come to terms with the things that you've done.
Right.
But that actually does happen, not just in the leaders, in the population. So somebody robs people throughout their life, and then they leave their property to a religious institution. Now, these religious institutions have become unbelievably wealthy. It's not surprising. Look at the Vatican. So we've got that parallel in the Islamic world.
Getting rich off guilt, basically.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, and then they sell, for example, they sell graves near religious places, and the price is more per grave than an apartment in the Hamptons. I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah.
Or New York, where property is at a prime.
Or they buy,
oh my God.
They literally can buy sainthood too.
Yeah.
The Mexican cartel doing it all the time. They're buying sainthood.
So now, speaking about forgiveness, self-forgiveness, it's not just that you just say, okay, I forgive myself and throw it behind and not think of it anymore. There's got to be some sort of change internally. So the example of that Andrew brought up, being a bully. Okay, if you want to forgive yourself, you've got to change that aspect within you that's caused that harm to someone else. If that change doesn't happen, It's all just words.
Yeah, but Amir, they have to realize what they've done first. I have never.
Yes.
I've gone to many coaching retreats, okay, and the coaching community is going to get some lashback for me here. I've gone to many coaching retreats where they are teaching people that you don't necessarily have to bring up all that past stuff. You don't have to realize what you've done. You could just jump the line from here to there and go to forgiveness. I've seen it's disgusting. It actually is disgusting to look at, because the truth of the matter is, like what we just spoke about, the shadow, if you have not realized and integrated that shadow, as in Andrew's analogy, can get reinfected. So the same shit you have done, under certain circumstances, you will do because you have not actually learned anything.
Or do even worse, because it's so easy to get out of the guilt.
Right.
What's stopping you from paying twice the price and doing twice as bad? Nothing.
Nothing.
We all make mistakes. That's number one.
Mm-hmm.
The people that grow are the people that understand the mistakes that they have made, have understand the causes of the mistakes. How did I get here? Simple question. How did I get here? Right? And how do I never go back there? Right?
Exactly.
We all have made mistakes. But let me tell you, the awareness of how you got there is absolutely important for when it is that you want to progress through that thing, right? Otherwise, what are you doing? You're going to light some incense, you're going to light some Palo Santo, you're going to stand in front of this makeshift altar that you have and say, universe, I forgive myself and it's done. No, you got to do the work. You got to do the grunge work.
And that's why people say I'm working on myself.
Which brings us back to I'm working on myself.
Yes.
But that's part of the thing. Excuse me, sorry, Andrew, for jumping in.
Go
So
ahead.
that's part of the thing that goes on with life experiences and reincarnation and the whole cycle of karma. People may avoid this beyond a single lifetime. They just keep doing the same mistake over and over and refuse to learn. I mean, actively refuse, even though they come across people that show them, this is what you're doing wrong. They say, la, 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 I don't want to hear it. I'm working on myself.
Stubbornness.
Yeah.
That's vanity.
There are a lot of spiritual people that are brats inside. You know that, right?
Yeah, they're stubborn vanity, stubborn and vain. Brat. What is a brat? Stubborn and vanity driven.
Yes, and that's why we did that show on spiritual narcissism, because
Right.
it gets to a stage where they're so full of themselves that they believe they could do anything and receive complete absolution. How are you different from the people that go to church down the road? Right? Say what is it in Catholicism? Say 2 Hail Marys and it's done. It's not done. Okay, so which brings me to, I'm going to strike at the female empowerment people out here. Okay, let me explain something to you.
Since there's so few male empowerment people groups out there, that's the biggest target.
Right. I want to explain something to you. Let's get something clear here for the audience. There is no social justice. There is only justice. Okay? There is no certain kinds of justice. There is only justice. Why you are trying to create something called female empowerment, I understand the roots of it because I actually studied feminism. Okay? Women have been oppressed, yes. You do not help women become free by emphasizing your sexuality and making women feel even more inadequate than they were before. Okay, you do not help them that kind of way. And yes, this is coming from a man because we have been overrun by a bunch of social justice people and woke people and cancel culture people. So if you all don't like what I'm saying, you're free to turn off this broadcast. David, as a man, is talking about female empowerment. Yes, Drink that and understand that I will continue to talk about it. Okay? There are a bunch of feminine coaches out there who are emphasizing sexuality as a vehicle to feminine empowerment. They're advising people to adopt an attitude which is out of sync with being unified with the opposite gender, the opposite sex. A lot of these people, and I'm saying this live on this broadcast, are people who have been jaded by relationships with men who suddenly became female empowerment coaches.
Right.
So if you do your investigation properly, you will find that a lot of these people have divorces, they've been abused, they've been put down and suppressed, and this is the response that they have, right? So what is female empowerment? When somebody says, I'm empowered, what does that mean? It has nothing to do with your gender. It is whether you are, as an individual human being, as a soul, screw gender, empowered or not. Are you a sovereign being? Are you not?
Yeah, but that's too big of a that's too big of a word, David. Sovereignty. That doesn't apply to those types of groups. And I'm going to add something else here. Because I've been in this industry for so long, the other common buzzword that replaces empowerment groups, I want to be part of a community, but I don't work on myself. I have no spiritual discipline. I watch YouTube videos all the time about the pyramids and aliens. I watch all these spiritual groups on YouTube, but I'm a hermit at home and don't go anywhere. But I want to be a part of a community. And community, I want to be in the community. Guess what? Until you learn to work on yourself and actually do it, until you understand you have to get out your house and have social skills, and you understand the foundations of commitment and courage to the daily practice, you can't be a part of the community. You will destroy the community because you've not done anything to yourself so that the community can come together in the common bonds of a healed perspective.
Andrew, this is what's happening to the esoteric community right now.
Yes.
An infiltration of people who have an agenda, right?
Yeah.
And the agenda has nothing to do with supporting others and walking through life like with integrity. It has nothing to do with that.
They think blind faith and not working on yourself is enough to be a part of a community that will elevate you even if you don't do the inner work.
So a lot of these movements, so for example, a lot of the suppression that women suffered throughout the ages was in the sexual area. They were suppressed, they couldn't choose who to marry, they had limited rights, and so therefore now these movements are sort of lashing out in that area, which is sexuality, sort of sticking it to the man, so to speak. But I'm thinking now of the Satanist movement. That's exactly the same. Sticking it to the church.
Yeah.
Yes, so it becomes kind of a, I was suppressed in this area, now I'm going to overdo it in the same area. That's not really the objective. So that doesn't lead to sovereignty. A lot of those problems as a result of social, cultural suppression is a way of thinking, those limitations of the mind, that you can and cannot do so and so. That must be resolved internally. So over-sexualization of young people, it's not a good thing. People that are way too young, or even children being exposed to this kind of stuff, it's not good for them in their development. It's harmful. There's a correct way, a correct approach of gently and correctly introducing young people to these kinds of things. So this kind of exaggerating of sexuality in very young people, later on down the line when they turn into adults, they may look back and say, okay, that was really awful. I wish there was somebody that would tell me that.
Right, and that's what makes them socially inadequate with no proper social skills, which leads to hermetism, which then leads to, I want to be spiritual, but because I have no social skills, you can't work on yourself. Social skills directly relate to learning how to work on yourself.
And I think on the point that you guys have just made, I think that the worst thing and the most damaging things about these movements is the teaching of negative attitudes. Okay?
Yes.
The teaching of negative attitudes. So now you go to these movements to assist you with becoming empowered or embodied or any of those taglines, right? And they teach you that everybody is against you, whether it be male or whether it be patriarchy or whatever, everybody's against you. And so
The
now a
government.
division is set up in your mind where you're on one side of the fence, people are on the other side of the fence. There is no possible discussion that can be had because you're angry. And you have, once again, Amir, contracted a spiritual, an STD, an STD, a spiritually transmitted disease from whoever it is that is teaching you. Their anger becomes your anger. So you step out into the world, you meet men. Like there's a bunch of women in the spiritual community, they don't realize that they are anti-male. They don't realize it. And it's the lack of awareness. But they have contracted the STD from other women who are their gurus. They step out with the attitude, and it's always lurking behind every interaction that they have with men in the spiritual community. So a lot of women in the spiritual community, I have, because I deal with people in with relationship issues, okay? And I meet women in the spiritual community, says, spiritual men don't want spiritual women. No, it's the attitude. It's the attitude. It's the attitude. Because spiritual men actually want to grow.
So I'm thinking that the pain, the anger that many women feel because of injustice, and this is undeniable, it exists, but it's not healed, transmuted, integrated, and refined. Instead, the anger is honed into a razor-sharp edge, which keeps cutting. How is that different from somebody who's sexually abused in childhood, then doing the same thing to the next generation?
But Abir, the people that are affected by this were fairly balanced before. And this is the thing that we have to understand, that somebody who's unbalanced, who adopts the professional title of guru, of coach, and so on, can poison regularly, but I wouldn't say completely balanced, but fairly balanced. So you have a situation of the blind leading the seeing into blindness.
The blind teaching the people with sight how to read Braille. Okay. Now I'm going to take a risk here. So some years ago, when I first started, I was nicknamed the anti-guru guru for a specific reason. In the 2012s and 2013s, I was hitting hard on the teachers out there that were pretend teachers, and the ones that were stepping up into the internet world and should have never been doing it. An example, I did one show with one woman, and because I'm good, I make everyone on my show seem way better than they actually are. She got a bunch of clients from the one show. And then people started trickling and coming to me with private sessions with the same common story. They were all sexually abused. They all had demonic forces in them, and they all had to go through a depossession done by this woman. And then the numbers grew and grew some more, and I had to make a choice. Do I make a public statement or not? Okay? So what I did is I took down the video and I made a statement. I do not support anyone that presents that the only thing that can be done is everyone is demonically possessed. This particular woman never healed her inner stuff, and every client she does, even to this day, after years of being disassociating with her, is still telling people, every client that goes to her, you were sexually abused as a kid, you have demons in you.
Look, Andrew, you didn't have to go that far. We personally, myself and yourself, have experienced people. I'll break it down for the audience. If you are empowered and embodied and you have an attitude, you are not empowered and embodied. Straight. It's as simple as that, because the attitude is your crutch.
Okay.
That's what's propping up all that, all of whatever you think is out there. The attitude
Now,
is what's propping up the crutch, and I really, and I feel for some of these people because they were regular, normal, average people before, and they go to people and they get poison drip fed inside their system.
exactly, in an IV.
IV tube of false rhetoric.
Right. Now, I want to finish this next part. So with that said, there are plenty of other people who fall into that same line where I've had to do private sessions or on public shows. A teacher told me this, a psychic told me that. And I have to hit the brass tacks and go, that never happened. Never happened. If any of you who regularly listen to me, you'll hear the people that call in and come up with it. I was told by a healer this happened. No, it didn't. Do you know how many people have been told by psychics and this and that they're super soldiers? They've been in the 20 and back programs. You have fake and false memories. You're actually 300 years old in your little 25-year-old body. That you're a butterfly, which is a woman who is designed since birth to take down men. Okay? In sexual abuse cults. And they create this story and give it to this person. Okay? This is rampant. This is rampant in this industry. Rampant. Okay? And ultimately, it makes them feel empowered when they do it to others. Okay?
Yeah.
And it breeds insanity as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's an infection, a virus of the mind. So it's kind of destroying the structure of reality the person has. Then you wouldn't be surprised if they start seeing things.
Literally, they create the delusion and the illusion because myth has taken over.
Yeah.
Myth is a powerful tool when employed by the shadow.
So in fact, these sorry, David. So these guys are in fact left-hand path practitioners disguised as light workers. What they're doing is industrial damage.
You're insulting real left-hand pathers because many of them have never practiced a day in their life and decided to become a psychic one day after watching a Corey Good episode or this or that. And believing them themselves are their own super soldiers.
I concede to that point absolutely, because there are left-hand path practitioners in their entire career. Yes, in their entire career, they don't do any damage.
Right.
They do their thing, but they do not harm any sentient kind. I don't know how to classify these pseudo light workers, because what you're saying is just.
I can classify them for you. They're just agents. They're just agents, and they're not even bright agents.
No,
they're just puppets being manipulated and by whatever winds of darkness that are blowing at any point in time. And here's the thing that I really want to say. In a microcosmic way, they're hurting individuals.
Yeah.
But look at it on a macrocosm. They are destroying the reputation of everybody who is left-handed.
Yeah.
They're destroying the reputation of people who are sincerely out there doing work. Okay? So let me explain to you. We have a crisis in the esoteric and spiritual communities. I have said so several times.
I've been saying it since 2013.
We are not respected in the real world. We could have this broadcast here. Let me tell you what the real world thinks about spiritual people. Tree hugging, woke-tivist, right? Cancel culture idiots.
And conspiracy theorists.
The universe is this great grand thing and they have no theology or any kind of training behind them. They cannot reason. That is what they think about the spiritual community. The truth, however, is that you have a mass of people actually tree hugging and talking a bunch of shit that has nothing to do with real world stuff. Nobody's trying to build a bridge between the spiritual and the mundane. Okay? What we call the mundane, but really and truly, the material world, the businessmen, the accountants, the scientists, nobody's trying to build that bridge. Okay? But a few of us are very well trained. Okay? And so we can actually speak. Because if these scientists and accountants think that these tree-hugging people irritate them, they irritate us more. Yeah. And I wouldn't even say irritate in the sense of people just take on certain labels, they run with them, and they don't realize on a macrocosmic level the damage that they're doing. You had a bunch of people from the business sector utilizing these brainless people. Okay, Andrew, I went to a gem show recently. I sent you pictures from that gem show. Okay, you said it was a bunch of phony stuff. Well, you were right. Let me explain to you how I know you were right. Okay, after you said that, I'm looking around this gem show, and because I'll ask questions. The gem show is being sponsored by a precious metals group that are getting subsidiary earnings. And wait for it, by manufacturing semi-precious stones and selling it to the spiritual community. I could not make that up. All right? Process that for a minute. Process that. The crystals in your house was made by a mining company.
It's just, why not? Why not, David? There are people that are ignorant, ready to be exploited. Snake oil has always existed, you can't really fault the corporations. It's just a new niche market.
Like how low do you have to be? So a lot of these people go to the gem shows, get their crystals, they bring it inside the house and say, oh, this crystal is very spiritual. No, a mining company. While they were looking for gold, oh, look, there's some amethyst. There are a bunch of people who will buy this. Let me put it together because I got the trucks. I got it. Because in the spiritual person's mind, it's like some little kid picked this up, some little shaman, and it shipped it and it made its way to my table. No. It was a company that brought it there. Okay.
Well, that's once again the myth. And
they work with this construct. And Andrew, when I found this out, I was less than happy because I was all excited because I got this little heart-shaped rock, and I thought to myself, when you wrote this thing to me, I thought to myself, how did this heart-shaped rock get polished into a perfect heart like this?
It probably came from slave labor India or Afghanistan. Dead serious.
Right?
Dead serious.
Get shaped into a perfect rock like this. Okay? I mean, it's cute. It's really nice. And it was mass produced by a mining company that is selling.
No, literally, David, the truth is most of that stuff is carved in India. It's done in India or Afghanistan. And they come from Chinese mining companies, and they send it in bulk to India for grade A, grade B, grade C to be made into trinkets. And unfortunately, most of that is chemical or heat treated. So it's not even the stone that you think it is until you actually take a little bit of gemology process and understand what you're actually looking at. Now, David, there was something else that you said, that there's a crisis in this community. And I've been talking about this exact crisis is people speaking all the time, and I have labeled them pontificating philosophers.
Correct.
They never actually do the inner work, and all they want to do is be in a community, but they're hermits in their own basement, haven't gone out or only have online friendships, don't know how to have real relationships, haven't been in an actual sexual relationship in decades, and think they can pontificate truth to someone who doesn't even know what the truth of the universe is.
Yes, because truth is a practice. It's not a bunch of words that you throw at people.
Exactly. It's a practice. And those pontificating philosophers are 70% of the problem. What's the other 30%?
Well, the people.
The people.
People who
The
go
people
for it.
who drink it, and the people who bring all of this stuff, and it's like an evangelical duty that they have. It's like the conspiracy theorists.
Mm-hmm.
There are few real conspiracy theorists, but they adopt they infect people, and the people develop an evangelical duty to tell other people.
Right.
You know, this reminds me of the phony martial arts masters.
Yes.
That got all these students, and then they go into a hexagon with a mixed martial artist and get their ass whipped in like 7 seconds. They're knocked out.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see it on the face of the students. What the shit, dude? What just happened? This guy was a master, quote unquote. I think there's a need for that hexagon in the spiritual community.
You mean the octagon? Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, the octagon. Yes.
So this
sorry,
is the octagon right here. We have invited people to come and debate us and disagree with us.
Absolutely. Let it shine.
This has always been an open invitation. But here's where the truth lies. Okay?
Yes.
Here is where the truth lies. I can get 1,000 priests to come and debate us, right? But all of the people that we just spoke about, shadow workers and so on, not one of them would stand. Not one of them would stand up. What does that tell you? Right?
They know
because when you are actually talking to people who are going to give you resistance and actually have read the books that you have read and understood the books that you have read, listen, I have told people on this broadcast already, there's a reason why I'm on this broadcast with co-hosts Amir Jahangiri and Andrew Botsis. There's a reason why I am here with these guys, because I have walked all over the globe, okay? Looking for people who are realist people, okay? And I can count on my hands, my 2 hands, right? The real people that I found who are actually doing work, who are out there, who are putting themselves on the line, putting themselves on the line. Everybody is a guru or an enlightened person until they are actually tested. When they are tested and they can come back from certain things, right? Look, Amir, I know where you've been. Andrew, I have seen where you've been, okay? You know where the respect comes from? The respect doesn't come from where somebody is. It's not where you are, it's where you end up that matters.
Right.
If you have not been tested by life, the universe, you've not gone through your own healing crisis, right? Stop talking about guruism. Stop talking about how enlightened you are, okay? All right? Jesus had to go through trials himself, okay?
Yeah.
Buddha went through trials himself. But there are people who, and I'm going to say this, it's not going to be popular. You've been sheltered from your house. You went from your house to a marriage. You're getting 3 square meals a day every day. You never had to do anything. You went to a course, a weekend course in Reiki. You put up a sign outside and you say, I am the Reiki master. Tell me. Let's talk about that for a minute. Your existence is being paid for. Right? You have a sign outside saying that you're a master. Okay, that word used to mean something before. It used to mean something. It means nothing now. And that's why all these communities are losing respect in the real world. It used to mean something.
But it hasn't meant anything in well over 25 years. And Reiki's a perfect example of that. It used to be like 10 grand for Reiki 1, 10 grand for Reiki 2, and 40 grand for Reiki 3. For years and years, all through the 70s and 80s, and until the mid 1990s, did the price come down to about $1,500 a class. It's like $20 a class now, and they don't even teach you the full teachings. Okay? Most of the time, they're just giving you the attunement without actually touching you. But all of the Reiki teaching saying it's an actual physical touch thing. It's not something you can do over the phone. Okay? And then there comes the term, the master. That is supposed to represent commitment, courage, discipline, none of which are mystical, all of which are an exercise of willpower long term to learn the art of being the master with all of the other people that you're going to be doing energy work on, so that they at some point can change the negative frequencies within them and lead a more balanced and healthy life. But unfortunately, the teacher mill, which is just like a puppy mill, took over. And the same thing of teacher mills have taken over and created all of these people that in their head have these skills, but they've never practically implemented it into thing. Like when I became a Reiki master, from level 1 to level 2, I had to work on 50 people. Level 2 to level 3, I had to work on 100 hours of people to get that certification. And by the time I graduated as a master, I was already doing 20 clients a week. By the end of my first year, I was averaging 35 to 40 clients a week, nonstop. The end of that first year, I understood there was a common set of things you can occur, and the uncommon stuff were the unique styles of the art of Reiki.
Mm-hmm. And Amir, just to go ahead.
Go ahead. I was thinking, the tradition of creating the katana, the samurai sword, from the very iron ore that's gathered very carefully to smelting it, and then to forging it, and then to heat treating it, sharpening it. That whole tradition that goes into creating something that is priceless versus the crap you find online now. 3 swords for $50 and it comes with a oak wood, wall stand. It's just mass production of something that's churning out subpar, substandard, false economy crap.
Yeah, and so I have to tell you guys that the topic for today's show came because I was talking to Nikki the Crochet earlier on, right? Nikki is one of the principals on the UCM network. And she said, David, you really need to do a show on fronting because there are too many people out there promoting fake stuff. Okay. And even when they don't promote fake stuff and they promote stuff that is real, it's just mouthing the words. Okay. Right. You got to embody a lot of the stuff that and only experience will do that. Okay.
Agreed.
Listen to me. If you call it, you have yourself this title and it's master and so on. Right. All right. So in the martial arts, as which is the example that you were working with there, Amir. Okay. I have been doing martial arts for since I was 13. You are told that even at the black belt level, you are just beginning. Okay. It's like a child. You gotta walk, you gotta crawl, and when you start to walk is when you are giving your black belt, your first steps. People are out here and they're putting themselves out there as masters and gurus, and they need to understand that this kind of stuff it doesn't do anything for your credibility and the credibility of the community when you put it out there. But I suspect a lot of people don't care. This, for a lot of people, is just a money-making scheme, right? So the other part of it, which is the love of the practice, is lost. And that actually is the worst part of this.
I want to add something here. Because I do a call-in show and have done it for 10 years, I get people that ask me, what's my purpose? And it got to the point where I didn't want to answer, what's your fucking purpose anymore? Because if you don't even know what your purpose in life is, how can anybody help you? So I get this question, even to this day, what's my purpose? And some call it jaded. but in fact, it's the tough love side of the teacher that had to evolve in, that I had to evolve in, but still use patience and compassion for those people who didn't know what their purpose was. They've led a purposeless life. And having to teach them, you can have many, many purposes or purpose. And then people are like, well, what do I do? Begin a practice. Anybody can be a healer, but it requires commitment, courage, and discipline. Once again, none of those are mystical. They're self-generated. Anybody can get to the path of being a teacher, but are you going to be a good teacher? Are you going to be a teacher that regurgitates bullshit teachings? Or are you going to be the learned person, the enlightened person, and understanding the words that you say absolutely matter, and that any teacher worth their weight in salt owns their words?
Yes.
If you can't own your words, pontificating philosophers, get out of the game.
Yes.
Get out of the game.
And I want to say something here, because I don't know what the path is to restore the credibility of the spiritual and healing communities. I don't know what the path is, but I know what the path is not. Okay? So my way of going about this is, we do shows like this, and we are not afraid to call people out on their bullshit at any point in time.
Yep.
But there are, which brings us back on topic, there are people that will say the fact that you're calling people out on their bullshit is a bad thing. No, it's a bad thing, because you're judging them. Listen to me, just so that we're clear. When you're judging us for judging them, if we as spiritual healers and teachers sit by and just allow, look, evil flourishes when good men fail to act. Okay? All right? If we sit by and we say, oh, we shouldn't judge them, things will, nothing gets better. You don't do anything, nothing gets done. And we absolutely used to be more respected than we are right now. Okay? We absolutely. How many of you spiritual people out here in this space who are listening to this broadcast have a profile on LinkedIn? Not Facebook, not Instagram. Okay? Have a profile on LinkedIn, right, saying that I do this. Or you're not going to risk it. You're not going to risk it. And you want to know why you won't risk it? You won't risk it because that would not be the platform for you guys. So you hide. You hide. A lot of you are hiding. And this is dangerous.
Or we could call it out and call them chicken shits.
Right? A lot of you guys are hiding.
Mm-hmm.
All right? We don't need to tell you our backgrounds, but we're not hiding. We're out here.
No. Okay.
Don't hide.
Mm-hmm.
If you are real and you are true and you can back up your shit, do not hide. And that's how you restore credibility, and that's how you restore integrity to this practice. That is my 2 cents. I'm actually done, because I can't even say any more shit that spiritual people say, because to be quite honest with you, I think we've covered everything.
Yeah.
I want to add this. I use the term chicken shit because I've been on the leading edge of calling this out for so long. And as I said, I had to develop a unique aspect as the teacher, experiencer person that I am, with the healing experiences that I have and the psychic abilities that I have, and that I can show other people how to do them if they're ready to do the inner work at a commitment level. There comes a moment where the chicken shits out there remain chicken shit. And I understood this at such a fundamental level. I went into my own spiritual process and communed with my energy and my source. And what do I have to add to my toolbox? And what came up with the term was voluntary roasting. Okay? On my show, I would say, if there's somebody out there that's one of those in the chicken shit level that wants to be roasted, meaning I'm going to go right at the source of your thing, no beating around the bush, no happy, fluffy language, and I'm going to hit you at every level at all the things that you're avoiding. It became a staple part of my show, and people loved it. And then there are the people, I can't listen to you doing that to people, even if they're volunteering for being roasted. Why? Because I just went to the pure, raw skill, the pure intuition. What's wrong with you? I don't ask them who they are, what they are, other than what's your name, what's your date of birth, and do you have a job? Okay? The littlest amount of information, zone in, zone in, zone in, hit, 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 hit. And their personalities of avoidance immediately come up. I go, that's an avoidance technique. You can't answer that. You're avoiding it. Let's go deeper. To the point I developed put the fire on a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And then there's the ones that come in. I realize that they're so hardened to this world, I have to turn the flame up all the way. And if I don't make them cry, quite literally, there's no getting through to them. Because that cut off from their own feelings and emotions. Okay? And do I enjoy that? No, I don't. I don't enjoy roasting people. Do you hear me laugh it off? Yeah, I do. But I don't enjoy it. But I know it was necessary and that my internal communion with spirit needed these tools in this age where people are so afraid to just try.
Mm-hmm.
People out there have to harden themselves. They are fragile snowflakes in the hot desert.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Learn to harden yourself mentally, physically, emotionally. Mental toughness is taught through all the sports processes. Mental toughness and spiritual toughness is something you earn.
Which would bring me, and I thought I was finished. Just one more thing. Just one more thing. I'm afraid of being seen.
Mm-hmm. Common thing I hear.
That is, you guys are hiding. You guys are hiding. Right, let me explain to a lot of you something that y'all don't know. If you love this work, if you love what it is that you do, if you are sincere in your commitment to this work, okay, then being seen, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Some of y'all are afraid of being attacked by others. That's going to happen, whether you put a post on Facebook, whether you walk down the street, or whatever. That's going to happen. Your fear will cause the attack. Your fear alone will cause the attack. You guys have to ask yourself on a daily basis, and I'm going to put it out there. I'm going to throw it out to your audience. On a daily basis, how many psychic attacks do you think Andrew, myself, and Amir are subjected to? Do you think it's more or less than you guys? Think about that. Ponder that. Look at the three of us. Do we look particularly fazed by any of that shit? No, we're not. Actually, we were laughing about all of that stuff earlier on. Like,
right.
You want to send
us
a psychic attack? Please, have at it, us. Like we don't really care about that.
Listen, you have no idea what individually each of us did to get here, and the work it took so that a psychic attack is nothing more than a fart in an elevator or a fart in the wind. Because we practiced and practiced so much until our blood boiled with practice, and then practiced some more. And when we mastered those foundations, no matter what the projection is, it is a fart in the wind.
We don't look. Honestly, guys, stop deciding nonsense. Right? Step off that cliff and fly. Right? Or be pushed out of the nest. Right? Or be pushed out by the nest by the winds of fate. either which way. You can't stay in your little nest with your eggshells next to you, right, for your whole life, right?
Mhm.
You can't do that. You gotta come out. You gotta show people a substance, a fullness of yourself, right? I guess that's my spiel. I'm gonna let you guys have the last word on this. Go ahead, guys.
Go ahead, Amir.
I can't top that. There's nothing left unsaid. Fly out of the nest. You can't stay in the nest and claim to be the mighty eagle. It doesn't work that way.
Well, I'm the one that's going to burn the nest down here.
Oh God.
Okay.
There we go. Go ahead.
And I'm going to tap into a source inside of me, and that's inside each and every one of you. If you want to change your life, you have to be willing to look at your life and start with the scorched earth policy. You have to burn away the negative. You can no longer focus on the positive and that spirit will get me through the next and leap of faith and leap of faith and leap of faith until every leap of faith is into the next toxic leap of faith. Unfortunately, huge swaths of our community are in toxic leap of faith or experiencing toxic hope because they won't scorch and burn the negative in them. And when you get that gritty commitment to go, darkness that's in me, I'm coming for you. I've got a flamethrower, I've got napalm, I've got phasers, and I got a creative mind that will not let go until I burn it all down and build it again the right way.
Mm-hmm.
That was just the definition of the tower, the tarot card.
Mm-hmm.
And don't fear the tower. Bring the tower down yourself. Don't wait for it to happen.
Excellent, guys. Excellent. I want to actually dedicate this show to Nicole the Crochet because we had a discussion. Nicole is one of the real ones out there. I want to dedicate the show because she gave me this topic. We were having this discussion a little bit earlier on. And yeah, I don't think there's anything else that could be added to this. Guys, fly. It's not your natural constitution to stay grounded to a nest. Fly.
That's just on fire.
Okay, guys, I will take you away. Thank you, and we will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.